Kensington, Mansfield, Cleveland, Jeppestown, Alexandra, Industria, Westdean, Ennerdale, Roosevelt Park, Eldorado Park, Morningside. I could go on. That's a list of just some of the areas in and around Johannesburg that have been experiencing some form of power interruption in the past 24 hours. And that's as reported on City Power's own Twitter feed. This is apart from blackouts, planned blackouts, which are in stage 4, and load rotation, which of course is a power cut to areas about to blow the local substation due to overuse. So are us Joburgers living in the city of gold or the city of cold and dark? Let's get the latest from the spokesperson for City Power, Isaac Mangena. Mr. Mangena, thank you so much for joining us. Your technicians, I know, are working 24/7. It just doesn't seem to be enough. Could you tell us how many unplanned outages there are in the city of Joburg at the moment?
Thanks, Ali, and good afternoon to the viewers. We are trying our best. We are currently on the last check, we had about 5,000 outages across the city of Johannesburg. These are outages that exclude load shedding, obviously. These are some of those are actually over 24 hours in terms of the backlog that we are currently dealing with. I think the cold weather and the overloading that is happening across most of our supply areas do not help, and the load shedding is actually exacerbating the whole situation. So we are really under tremendous pressure as City Power in terms of resources, in terms of manpower, to basically deal with both load shedding and the cold weather that we're experiencing currently.
Has it ever been worse than this?
Look, I think there are certain issues that obviously we can't compare last year and this year. City of Johannesburg is one of the attractive cities in terms of economic opportunities, and as such, we are seeing a mushrooming of informal settlements across the city, which means these people, wherever they set up informal settlements, they will obviously tap into the network that was not actually meant to cater for those people. So it means there is extra capacity that is needed in those areas. So we are not keeping up with the increase in informal settlements, people that are coming to Johannesburg to try and look for jobs and economic opportunities, who are setting up informal settlements across the city. Region G is one of the fastest growing. Region G is one of the fastest growing regions, and it's one of the problematic regions in terms of the illegal connections and informal settlements that are currently in those areas. So that's why Region G is actually high on the list in terms of the backlog. But this backlog was also exacerbated by the blockade of our Lenasia depot that services that region went on for about 10 days in the past week. So we are still recovering from that. But obviously, load shedding stage 4 is actually worsening the situation.
Is this because, and this is something that I've noticed in my neighbourhood, is that we get load shed, and then when they try and turn the lights back on, often the system trips. Is load shedding, the on and the off, the powering down, the powering up, causing problems in itself?
Electricity network, by its nature, was never meant to be switched on and off at short intervals. So currently we are forced to do so because of the migration to the 2-hour load shedding period. And so it means we have to basically cool down and go up, heat up the transformers and so forth. But also, just over 50% of our substations can be controlled remotely. The rest, it means we have to basically send people physically to the substation to be able to switch off. So I'm giving an example about Region G as well. An operator who's working in lowly currently, and they have to go and switch off or on in Freedom Park or Eldorado Park, for example, will have to spend about 1 hour, 30 minutes on the road to be able to do that. But that is something that we are trying to address, to ensure that all our substations are 100% covered on the SCADA, the monitoring system, whereby we will be able to switch them on and off remotely and ensure that we restore power. But also, the issues with the customers. Remember when we switch off and there's load shedding, the system cools down, but then you find that the customers still have their appliances plugged on, and we have issued several statements in the.
You know, it's sorry to jump in there. I just want to check if I've lost you or not. Sorry, can you hear me, Isaac? Sorry, Isaac.
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I think the point you're making, and it's such a crucial one, is that we've got to play our part by turning off our geysers, turning off our appliances so we don't bomb the system as soon as it's on again. I want to quickly move on. And this is something I've been reading a lot about. There are lots of reports. Reedy Klabi is probably chief among them. She says her street has been without power for 24 hours. They've repeatedly reported it. Then there's also a lady who tweeted me in desperation today. Her name is Larato. She's from Jeppes. She says they haven't had power for 5 days. She says she's logged more than 7 reference numbers with City Power. She gets updates that technicians are on site, but no one is there. Then the query is closed. Why are faults repeatedly being reported but not being dealt with? Is it simply a lack of technicians? Is there a glitch in your system?
It's a bit of both. Like I said, we are basically having a huge backlog across the city of Johannesburg. And we are obviously dealing with both the medium voltage and the low voltage. These are the individual customers and also the larger areas that we are dealing with. So we've been focusing on the larger areas so that we are able to restore power to more people than individuals. But obviously with the individual calls, we are attending to those as well. We have added new technicians. We have added about 30 new technicians to those that we have. We have also brought in more contractors to ensure that we augment what we are already having on the ground to ensure that we deal with those. We have been pumping more resources in areas that are really problematic, like Region G and also areas around central Johannesburg. But also the issue that is problematic, especially in areas around Jeppes Town, is that you are not able to first respond at night because of the danger that our technicians are facing in those areas. In fact, 3 of them were robbed at gunpoint of their cell phones and other issues. So we decided that we may not be able to respond to some of those areas at night, and we can only do those during the day. But also the issues of illegal connections, especially around Maboning and Jeppes Town and Malvern areas, and other areas that I've already mentioned where we've got a large concentration of illegal informal settlements. We are having a problem with that, and they are overloading our network. Every time we try to restore power, our mini substations and pull-mounted transformers explode, they blow up due to that. And obviously those ones take time to replace and ensure that we deal with this problem.
Now, I mean, I can hear that you have an absolute multitude of problems. I'm wondering how much old infrastructure is also a problem. And I ask about this because in my street, and I'm using it as an example, there's a mobile diesel generator that has been plugged in to our mini substation for the last 10 days to actually keep our lights on. And I'm wondering how much you're having to do that. How many of these massive mobile diesel generators are you having to deploy around the city? And do you have any to spare? Because I'm just seeing so many problems that you're facing.
Yeah, where we are facing serious challenges of material or things like mini substations in short supply, we basically deploy generators, which really are not ideal because they are very expensive to run. And that's why we use them as the stopgap mechanism, not to put them there forever. We are basically dealing with that. While we're busy fixing whatever the problem is there, especially the blown up mini substations and pull-mounted transformers, we deploy the generators to ensure that we deal with that. Yes, you touched on the issue of the aging infrastructure. We can really say that we do have some of our fleets that are really old or aging, and those are some of the problems that we have. And with the load shedding that we're having now, it doesn't really help because it really shortens the lifespan of our infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier when we started the interview, that by their nature, electricity infrastructure was never meant to be switched on and off at short intervals. So we are running an old fleet of infrastructure. Remember, Johannesburg is an old city, and we still have some of the transformers that have been there for over 50 years, but they're still, in terms of the lifespan of transformers, they're still pushing and pulling power and ensuring that there are lights. But when we have load shedding and having to switch on and off, it really just shortens the lifespan. And that's what
I mean, I hear
sometimes
you.
We have,
and you've made
problems, yes.
You've made that point really well, and I'm rushing you purely because you're giving me really important information, really useful information. I want to try and have a little ray of hope. I was reading, Bloomberg reported last week that Joburg is planning to spend about 3.8 billion rand so that we can reduce our reliance on Eskom through solar and gas power and battery storage. And hopefully this could be up and running by 2025. You've, I think, got requests for proposals out so far. Do you think this is the ultimate solution for Johannesburg?
Yes, our plan is basically to move away from Eskom dependency, because as you can see currently, it's really not working for our customers in the city of Johannesburg. And by doing that, part of the plan that we're having as the city is to basically ensure that we turn City Power away from being an electricity company, but becoming an energy company. This means that we are looking at options that are available out there in terms of the renewable energy. As you rightfully pointed out, we are looking at basically money of about 3.8 billion rands over a certain period of time to ensure that we basically invest in some of the new technologies, the technologies that have always been there that we are trying to deploy, including the usage of gas, the battery storage systems, and also the solar energy, to ensure that we basically not depend on Eskom. If we can get that right, when Eskom is doing this load shedding as they are doing currently, we will be able to basically ensure that our customers are cushioned from the impact of load shedding if we are not relying on Eskom. Currently, 90% of our electricity is coming from Eskom, with only 10% coming from Kelvin. We are also renegotiating that contract with Kelvin to ensure that they are able to pump in more into City Power, so that we can basically remove or at least reduce the dependency that we're having currently on Eskom.
All right, well, thank you so much for being so open with us, just talking very honestly about the real problems that are facing the city of Johannesburg, but also how the technicians, that force of technicians is being boosted, and they are working around the clock to try and sort these problems out. That was City Power's Isaac Mangena.